Hi, welcome to Cybertalks. I'm Eliza-May. I'm here today with the amazing Dana Mantilla. Probably pronounced that so wrong. I'm going to let her introduce herself in a minute. So I'm Eliza-May. I am the founder and CEO of That Security Company. If you want to find us, it's thatsecurity.company or pocketscene.co.uk. We're going to be talking about child synthetic identity theft. Not a clue what that means. I did have to Google it before I got on this, but Dana's going to tell us all about it after she's just introduced herself. So Dana, the CEO, founder of Identron, do you want to talk about yourself for a minute?
Sure. Hello there. So my name is Dana Mantilla, and I am the founder of Identity Protection Planning. And we offer identity protection planning and credit monitoring. And we also help educate people how to protect themselves and their family members from identity theft and cyber crimes.
Okay, awesome. So many questions. But before we get to that, we're going to show a little clip from our sponsors, CyberSmart. Okay, Dana, so let's get into it. What the hell is child synthetic identity fraud?
So what it is when someone steals a child's real social security number here in the US, that's what we call it, and they put it together with a fake name and a fake date of birth, and they apply for a credit card. So if information goes to whichever the credit card company they're using, that information goes to the credit bureau. Credit bureau looks around, they say, we don't have any association with this name and this social security number. So they let the bank or the credit card company know, and the credit card company denies the application, rejected. So a little bit of time goes by, and that same identity thief does the same thing again, applies for credit card, goes to the bank, goes to the credit bureau, and the credit bureau will look up and they'll say, well, we don't have any credit activity with this name and social security number, but we do see that a credit file was started back when that first application went in. So the bank will say, well, we'll give you a little bit of a maximum. We'll give you $300 per month, and that's it. And then you can build upon that. And boom, that social security number is now associated with that fake name and fake date of birth. So now that child, whoever's that was, it's no longer theirs, and the identity thief can move on, and he can build on that credit. He can get a job. He can build on the credit, and then one day down the road, dump it all. Then that poor kid, when he turns maybe 18 and it's time to apply for a college loan, he goes to apply, and that's when this huge mess gets discovered.
So it sounds really easy. I'd love to give it a go. I'm joking. I'm joking. Okay, so is it predominantly an American crime then? Do you think? Because here you have to, we spoke about this before, and you have to be 16 in the UK to get a national insurance number. So it's slightly different. I know you did tell me that in the US you're born and you get given a stamp, basically. So tell us about that.
Well, over here in the US, when a child is born, relatively close thereafter, the parent goes and applies for a social security number. And the advantage for the parent doing that relatively soon is because they then can get a tax deduction. So that's the advantage to getting a child a social security number when they really have no need for it for quite some time. And it's just this vulnerability that's sitting out there and could possibly lead to some problems, where I know, like you had mentioned, that you guys wait later, and same thing in Canada, they don't issue them until someone's going to get a job. So when they're about 16 or 17. So that time span of risk is very, very much reduced elsewhere than here.
So when these kids do grow up and they're 18 and they apply to go to university or something, or apply for a loan, how do they then unpick that?
Well, I think one of the biggest problems is that it takes a lot of time and sometimes a lot of money to unravel the problem. But the biggest issue is the timing. So you're going to apply for a college loan when you know you're going off to college. You probably know exactly which one.
Yeah.
And it could cause a pause in the whole process. And then maybe that poor kid doesn't get a loan in time to be able to start attending the following fall. So that's a big disappointment.
I can imagine. So, okay then. So I know we're talking about a predominantly American audience right now. It's still super interesting, but how can what can parents do instead of waiting until their kid gets to 18 and finding out? What can they do if they've got a 10-year-old now or a 15-year-old? What can they do to try and find out if their child's identity has been victimized in this way?
Well, over here, what they can do, and probably some format over there, is they can freeze their child's credit. So they contact the credit bureaus and they say, I'd like to freeze my child's social security number so that there should be no credit activity on there. And then it stays frozen. You can't do anything with that until the parent applies for it to be unfrozen, when the child's turning 18 or something along those lines. That's
Okay.
what to do. The other thing to do is to run that child's social security number with a credit report and see if anything is showing up.
That's something that Identron help with, right? Can you just explain what Identron do in this space?
So our company is identity protection planning, and what we do is identity theft protection. And our product Identron, what that does is that monitors credit with all three of the American credit bureaus, the big three credit bureaus. And that's an important thing for all three to be monitored, because if an identity thief is going through a vendor that's using, let's say, TransUnion, and you have credit monitoring with Equifax, when the application goes through TransUnion, there's not going to be an alert. You're not going to know that someone is applying for credit with your information, because that's not being monitored. But if you're monitoring all three, then no matter which one the person is going through, then you're going to be alerted that someone's applying for credit.
I was actually really shocked by that. So I signed up to one of those things a few years ago, and I would have assumed that I was protected in that way because I was paying a stupid amount of money a month, which I don't pay anymore. Okay, so what can people do now to defend this from happening? I suppose what I'm asking is, rather than having to go and run a credit check and see if your child's identity has been victimized, like, what can you do to just prevent this from happening in the first place? Say if you're about to have a child, or just preemptive, what can we do?
Well, there are some things that we can all do to be proactive. The first thing being aware that this even exists. There's a lot of people out there that they have no idea what synthetic identity is, or child synthetic identity. So I really, really like to try to get that message out there. And one of the videos that I did on LinkedIn, and I was going to try to put it in the chat so people could find it, but if they go to my LinkedIn page, they can find it, where I have these three little dolls with their little social security numbers, and I walk through the whole process of that whole credit card application, that I did, and then how the identity thief eventually winds up with the social security number. It was a good visual to explain to everybody how it happens.
Yeah, if anyone wants to really understand it, if you just go to YouTube, this is what I did before we got on this call. If you go to YouTube and you just type in child synthetic, I can't even say that bloody word, child synthetic identity theft, you'll come up with Dana's video, and it's actually really good. It's a really good explanation. Thanks. So how were you first made aware of this?
How was I made aware of this, or how is just the world know that this is happening?
Oh, it's really common then in the US, is it?
Well, I think it's common everywhere. It's the fastest growing segment in the United States. Identity theft is the fastest growing crime, and of that fastest growing crime, synthetic identity theft is the fastest growing segment of that crime. So it's rampant, especially with everybody being able to apply online for credit. You never have to show your face or have a meeting with anybody. Everything is just fill it all in. And even if they have security questions like, well, what was the first make of your car, or, oh, does this address sound familiar? Sometimes if you're applying for a loan, they ask you these things to verify your identity. Well, if you're the one that made up the information in the first place, you're going to know the answer to all of these security questions.
Why is it so bloody easy? Like, what should, in your opinion, because I don't know much about this, but in your opinion, what should the American government be doing about this to stop it? Is there anything they can do?
Well, I think there needs to be more correlation with the government is issuing these numbers over here, and then the credit bureau is completely separate over here. So the credit bureaus don't even know what Social Security numbers exist until someone goes and applies for them. So that's the problem. Until there's some way that they're working together and they're going to both know, that's the problem. I don't know if that's ever going to happen.
Weird.
Yeah.
So let's just go back to the beginning of Identron. So I was fascinated to hear about the services that you do. So can we just go into that? Because it's vastly different from the tiny little bits of services that you'd get from Equifax and similar kind of services and products. So what do you actually do?
Sure. So our product called Identron, and what it does is it does 3 credit bureau monitoring. All of our plans have 3 credit bureau monitoring, and that's a very important thing when people look around at all different kinds of plans, because it's very confusing and it's all over the road as far as what the coverage actually is. So we try to keep ours very simple and less confusing. So all of them have 3 credit bureau monitoring. All of our plans come with $1 million AIG protection package, and that's another thing to keep an eye on, because other companies have different, maybe the first level you're getting $10,000 worth of protection, then the next level you're getting, $25,000, and so on and so on. All of ours come with $1 million protection. We also have a restoration center. When identity theft happens to somebody, it's very nerve-wracking. They don't know what to do. What should I do? Should I contact? So they can contact the restoration center, and they're going to have someone that's going to work with them from the very beginning of the whole mess to all the way until the identity theft has been cleaned up. And also dark web monitoring. One thing that's a big deal, and we're so numb to it nowadays, are these data breaches. So we can try to be as proactive as we can, but the problem is that we have nothing to do with these data breaches. They happen, and the information gets out there too. So there's that whole other area of how our information is exposed. So the dark web scans help detect if there's any information out there on you.
So the question that everyone wants to know, what did you think to the film Identity Theft with Melissa McCarthy in it?
I haven't seen it.
What?
I love her. I absolutely love her, but I haven't seen that movie.
You need to, straight after this, you need to watch it. Then you need to message me and tell me how hilarious. Actually, it was a bit crap. I think it's probably her worst one.
Oh.
But I was just wanted to get your opinion on it. So, okay, do you have any, I appreciate that you're in a different country to the UK, but do you have any understanding of similar sort of fraud activity that's happening in the UK?
I think this is pretty much happening all over. I'm sure the scheme is a little bit different over there, but the general idea that this is what we all need to understand, especially in today's digital world. Our data is our most valuable asset. And unfortunately, with social media and with everything being online, we are giving it away left, right, and center. On Facebook, we're taking quizzes. Over here, we're posting all of our personal information. And that is a huge way that people can gather, identity thieves can gather up information as well. Another thing that with identity theft in the business world is these phishing emails, and specifically spear phishing emails, where they'll log into somebody's system and they'll just watch the way people communicate. Let's say it's an office manager and then a business owner, and they're doing a financial transaction. And then they'll send an invoice that looks very similar to the ones they've been seeing going back and forth. This just happened to Barbara Corcoran of Shark Tank. Do you guys have Shark Tank over there? Do you watch Shark Tank? Anyways, a bunch of American entrepreneurs, and people go and pitch their products in front of them. And Barbara Corcoran.
Oh, Dragon's Den. Sounds like Dragon's Den.
Probably. So her office manager got an invoice with this company they thought they were doing business with in Germany, which they were doing business with. And the invoice was for furniture. It was $400,000 for these hotels. And so she paid it, wired off the money, and then went to go contact Barbara's assistant to let her know that I just want to let you know I sent the money off. And she said, "What are you talking about?" And then they started investigating, and it turned out that the email address was off by one little letter, like a lowercase I, and you make it an uppercase or an L. You could swap those around, and somebody might think it's the same one. And the IP address tracked back to China. So that money was gone. So it's happening in all different kinds of ways. I mean, the child identity theft is just one way, but I think we're not helping ourselves with exposing all of our information. And kids are growing up with this, you know. I mean, I'm older. When I grew up, we didn't have, you know, we weren't sharing all this information. We were out playing flashlight tag in the backyard at night, you know. And so it's totally different. They're used to having all their information and
what
all.
the hell is flashlight tag?
At night, it would be pitch black, and you'd be hiding in the woods, and you'd have to go find somebody with the flashlight.
Oh, that sounds really creepy.
That sounds like I'm 1,000 years old too.
Oh, I wish I grew up near a wood. Random. So something else I was going to ask you. I know when I was doing a little bit of research on this, I found out that sometimes what these criminals do is they take the social security number and then they create this like entire life around this person with fake social media profiles, and they follow and interact in different groups, and like they really go all out on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, and create these fake lives. Is that sort of the standard in this attack, or is that sort of like an awesome criminal? It didn't make sense, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, this is another thing too, is with the kids and thinking that they're communicating with somebody. I mean, this is happening with adults too. I mean, with catfishing, people are doing online dating, and they're talking to this nice person, and this lovely romance is blooming, and then next thing you know, oh, can you help me out? I need a little loan. Oh, of course I will, because I'm in love with you. And then boom, the person gets the money, and then they're never to be seen again. And the poor person is not only heartbroken, but they're out the money that the person just scammed them out of. So the same thing with kids. They think they're communicating online, whether it's some of the online gaming that they're doing, or if they're on Snapchat, and they don't understand that people are pretending to be other people. These could be like creepy old men pretending to be, you know, young girls, and they're trying to communicate with them, and then they get access to all their photos, and you know, that's a whole nother, like you said, they're creating fake profiles, and it's another mess.
Yeah, I saw this YouTube video where someone was explaining that they do that for the purpose of this fraud attack, though. But yeah, totally, and it's really weird that it's not weird. It kind of makes sense actually. If you're a pedo, you're gonna go down the gaming route, because that's, you know, what all the kids are on, and yeah, really gross and really weird. Let's get off that topic. Oh my god.
I know. I like to say, like, when we were kids, it was, you know, the creepy man with the van where it says like free puppies and candy inside, you know, come on over to my van. It's like, wow, that creepy van is now the social media world, and, you know, handing the kid a smartphone. It's like, here you go, have fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember my sort of first peak interest, maybe second, in cybersecurity. My first was watching Sandra Bullock in the net order a pizza on pizza.net and thinking, that's amazing, I need to do that one day. And I got really interested in computers that way. But my other was years and years ago when I was a young teenager. I was in the local library. Can't remember for the life of me why, but I was in a local library, and I was just looking at random different things on the computer because I didn't have one. And there was this creepy old man, right? And I remember his name was Graham. Graham, the creepy old man. And he sent me a message saying I can't even tell you, I can't even remember what it was on. But I got like this message, it might have been an email or something, saying, you should really be aware of people looking over your shoulder and shoulder surfing. And I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? Who the hell is this weirdo? And I looked to the side of me, and there was this like old man with grey hair, like, hello, I'm Graham. And I was like, I just like logged off and went home, and I was like, no way. This is so weird. How did he do that? And then that sort of piqued my interest in cybersecurity. So you've got quite a voice now and quite a platform in cybersecurity, but previously you come from a sales background and Ford dealership and working your way up in the sort of non-technical realm. So in your company, how do you guys take really complex and intricate topics and turn them into conversations that you can have with everyday people like we're having right now? How do you do that when you come from a sales background?
Well, I have a group of people that I have connected with on LinkedIn. And so we have these monthly meetings, and I can also reach out to them all the time if I don't understand something, because I'm not a technical person. And so in these meetings, we'll talk about topics, and the techie people will explain things. And then the regular people will say, well, what exactly does that mean? And then after we can kind of break it down, people are walking away with the knowledge of what this big complex problem was and how it works, that we can understand in our regular brains. And then what I'd like to do is I take those, and when I do my videos, I try to focus on one very specific item of the identity theft. And then I make sure it's in regular layman terms. And then I add a little humor to it to try to keep people's attention, because identity theft is such a boring topic. People have told me all the time, oh, you have such an exciting topic. I'm like, what do you mean exciting topic? It's like the driest thing ever, right? So that's why you have to add a little humor to it. But so that's how I come up with my little videos.
Okay. So have you come across any, I know you work on like the vendor side, but have you come across any personal stories that are really interesting to a listener that's in this identity theft space? Like anything funny, anything, I know it's not funny for the person, but
Well, this is I mean, it's again, it's right. It's not funny for the person, but it's funny. So this young girl named Brittany, she was living in the city and she needed a roommate. So Michelle came, and Michelle was the new roommate, and everything was going great. They were getting along fantastic. And then Michelle started to dress a little bit like Brittany, get the same hairstyle as Brittany. It was getting a little bit weird, but okay, whatever. So one day, Brittany's at work and she gets a phone call from the police, and they say, you need to come down here and get your roommate out of jail, Brittany, and come right away. She says, well, I'm Brittany. What do you mean? My roommate's name isn't Brittany. No. We have Brittany down here. She has all this identification, and it's her driver's license number, credit card, everything's her. Can you please come down here so we can talk about this? So of course, Brittany's mortified. So she goes down to the police station, and not only did Michelle steal her identity, Michelle was a transgender man. She was living with a man. She didn't even realize he made himself look just like her. And so eventually she not only found out she was a victim of identity theft, but she was completely fooled with this person she was living with.
My God, how can you not? This is bizarre. That must have been a really convincing person. What an awesome story, though. My God.
Yeah.
I think I'm sat right next to a window, and I've got like a ring light on because I need to make my skin look amazing. And someone's just walked past and went talking to the computer. Yeah, super weird. So that always really creeps me out with the whole, what is it? That was the film Single White Female.
That's what that exactly. Yes.
Yep. Just reminds me of that. Love that film. Awful hair. What's going on? What's going on? Honest to God, that film. If anyone's watching this, and if you haven't seen Single White Female, you need to watch it, because the lead character, who's played by Bridget something, and she's like very beautiful woman. But my God, what the fuck were they thinking in that film? She's got like a ginger thing. Feels like Napoleon Dynamite with a suit on. It's absolutely terrible. So I'm trying to like get myself back on topic.
Focus.
Right. Okay. So I'm seeing in the background, you don't have to be crazy to work here. We'll train you.
Yes.
What is the culture like at Identron?
Well, here's a funny story. And this I actually just did a video on the other day. So one day I'm sitting here at my desk, and I look out of the corner of my eye, and I see one of the women that works here, and she has her coat on. And I said, well, where are you going? And she said, I'm going to get all that stuff you needed me to get. And I said, what are you talking about? And she said, this stuff we were just texting about. And I said, I wasn't texting with you. So we backed into the whole thing. So someone had emailed her and was pretending to be me and said, hey, I'm in a meeting. And this is a very regular, I mean, this would happen. I'm in a meeting. I need you to do me a favor. Can you run out real quick and get me something for a presentation I have later on? I need, 5 gift cards for $200 each or something like that. Right? So then the person says, give me your cell phone number. So she texts her cell phone number. So now the conversation has jumped to her phone. And so they're texting back and forth, and she says, okay, well, where should I go? They pick the store, everything. She says, well, how am I going to pay for this? And the person says, well, just pay for it, and when you get back to the office, I'll reimburse you. Like, she's got an extra $1,000 just laying around. No problem. Pay for that. So anyway, the guy wanted her, or whoever it was, wanted her to read off the numbers on the back of the credit card, because that's what, I mean, not the credit card, the gift card. That's what you need. So I said to her, I didn't, no, this is not me. The whole thing was a whole scam, and people fall victim to this stuff all the time, because it's like, it's an urgent thing. It's always an urgent thing. It's got to happen like right now, can you please? And it's their boss. So they think, oh, I have to do what they want me to do. So anyway, so that was kind of interesting to see that here we are here. This is what we're talking about all the time, and something crazy like that could happen here. So we kind of got a good chuckle out of that. It was kind of funny. And then I've also received, my office managers received letters, and, saying that this whole thing, that emails saying it's from me, that we need to wire money here or wire money there. And obviously she wouldn't do that, but it's just interesting to see that the same stuff's going on here that's going on everywhere else.
My God. Do you know what? This conversation has really put me in the mood to go and watch Catfish.
Yeah,
I love that show. I think, excuse me, I think my favorite episode ever was when this woman thought that she'd found this love of her life, and he was this, tall, bleach blonde, gorgeous beach bum, and then she actually turned up with the presenter, whatever his fucking name is, and it was a 14-year-old girl in a trailer. I was like, that got caught on film. You need to change your name and have a facelift.
Yeah.
So
Great.
We are approaching the last couple of minutes.
Okay.
So what I want to do, rather than talk about, I really want to talk about Catfish with you, because I'd love to sit and watch Catfish with you, because I reckon you'd be like, I wouldn't fall for that. And I would be like, I probably would, to be honest.
I think we all would at some point.
So, can you just leave us with some final thoughts on identity theft, and what are the nuggets of knowledge that you want to penetrate into our brains right now?
Well, the biggest thing that I am always talking about with everybody is passwords. Passwords. Everybody has the same email address and the same password for every single account, and they don't realize what a big deal it is. But let's just take a little example. So over here, we have a little food delivery company called Grubhub. They get hacked. They get the username and passwords of all the people. Okay, no big deal. But it is a big deal, because if most people are using the same email for their username, and they're using the same password for all of their accounts, their Grubhub account login information is the same thing as their banking information, is the same thing as their social media, their LinkedIn, their credit card. And people don't realize that that's exactly what happens with these data breaches. Is you think, oh, it's no big deal, it's just Grubhub, but that's a lot of great data, because most people do have the same password and username, and they don't change them very often. So my word of wisdom would be to make sure that you have different passwords for different accounts. And also, if you've had the same email address for a million gazillion years, and you've handed it out to every store clerk over here, every time you buy something, they're like, can I have your email address? Can I have your email address? And you don't want to, you just give it to them, whatever. So maybe get a new email address, maybe just for your banking, websites, or your social media websites, or things that, and you just don't tell anybody that email address. So new email address for those accounts, and different passwords for all of your accounts. That's my most important thing, I would say.
So excellent advice, and something I am actually just going to pop in the chat. I don't know if anyone's going to receive that, because I've no idea how LinkedIn Live works, because I've never used it before. And for anyone that's wondering, I'm not controlling this. It's the magic genies at Cybertalks that are. I have pasted a link to haveibeenpwned.com. So if anyone is thinking, holy crap, this is conversations that have scared me, I need to go and check what my situation is. Go on there. You can just type in your email address, and you can see if it's been the victim of any data breach. I do think that it's a trustworthy site. The guy that runs it is a pretty nice guy, and he's a very much a do-gooder. So I would trust your email address with that. Yes, and I would add to that, use a password manager. So for anyone that doesn't know what a password manager is, have you been living under a rock? But also, you only need to remember one password, and you can put all your passwords in there, and then you just need to remember one password. Awesome. Great. So I don't have any more questions to ask you. There hasn't been any questions in the chat, but that's totally my fault, because maybe I should have. I really like Bitwarden, someone has said. Don't even know what that means.
That's a good one. Yes, I've heard good things about that one. Yes.
Should we just go through and just read these? Have I been pwned? Very good, but never type there a password that you can't. You don't type your password in, LinkedIn user. You don't type your password in. You type your email address in. My God. Okay.
Old password.
Okay. I don't think there's any interesting questions in the chat. People listening, what the hell? You should have brought more to the table. I'm appalled at your behavior. Okay, well, thank you so much, Dana. And thank you so much to our sponsor, whose name is
Cybertalk. No, not Cybertalk.
Whose name is CyberSmart.
Yes,
Obviously. When you're live, these things happen.
Love CyberSmart, yes.
I love it. This is amazing. Okay, well, that's all for now, folks. And I'm going to go and fill this up, have a drink, probably with my neighbour. Bye.